What's going on, Lyle? How you doing, bud?
Hey, man, how's it going?
I just timed out Jerry for making fun of you and I, so I had to answer Creole in there.
Jerry, really?
Yeah, can you believe it?
I can, actually. I think it was kind of
See what you guys did over there at Catfish Weekly? You got them all rowdy. Even Creole notices. Mark's going to lose the show even before it starts, getting rowdy in there.
Oh, man. We have had a great time over there, and this time of year is really tough. It's hot. Nobody wants to do anything except lay around, and but the fish are biting. Did you see the fish that Jeremy caught Sunday?
I did. And same with Tom over on the dock, too.
Oh, yeah. I seen it. I didn't get to see as much as I did the other of them guys yesterday, but Tom and then was catching some great fish too. But man, fishing's hot right now. The fish are all coming
We'll talk about that. Let me say hello to everybody, and then we'll get started. All right, bud? All right. I see 922 crappie barbecue. Oh, wait a minute. Before we start, did you see that poll I put up there in the chat?
I haven't yet. No.
It says, will you give us a thumbs up? Yes, I love the USA. No, I love China. And rumor in Chad is that Chad voted for China.
Oh, no.
That's why he's not the favorite son. All right, let me say hello to everybody. 922 Crappie Barbecue in the house. How you doing? There's Annette's Catfishing. I see Lynn over at Catfish Fever and Outdoors. What's up, Lynn? Creole Catfishing in the house. Danny Stone Outdoors. Crew member Richard over at Fishing Freedom. Freddie Breck Outdoor Adventures. Also a crew member. Thank you, Freddie. Appreciate it. JG Hill Studios in the house. There's Jerry Parker. I see him in there. He still might be timed out, though. Real and Virtual Outdoors. How you doing, Troy? I haven't forgot about you, bud. Things have been crazy around here. I see Sean T Outdoors. I bet you it's hot down there for him and Creole. It's got to be hot. I don't know how they do it. There's Skywalker DFS out of California. What's going on, bud? Takedown Catfishing. How you doing, Kenny? Wabash Nate in the house. There's Matt, Want to Be Outdoors, and there's Wild Turkey. I love me some Wild Turkey. And there's crew member Betty Jean Cross over at A Couple Crosses Fishing. How you doing, Betty? We got people out here. We got Freddie. He's been a member for 22 months. Way to go, Freddie. I appreciate your support. Fishing Freedom Richard. He's been a member for 22 months as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. I don't care what Chad says behind your back. I see Lance just popped in here. There's LG Bass. He's a crew member. How you doing, Lance? I'm going through here real quick. I think I got everybody. If I missed anybody, I apologize. Oh, David Smith, what's up? There's Fishing with Squirrel. What's going on, Dawson? How you doing? I hear Dawson fished with J-Dog this weekend. And welcome to the Catfish and Crappie podcast. My name is Mark. And today's guest, the great Lyle Stokes. How you doing, bud?
I'm wonderful, man. It's just we had rain this morning. We've been getting a little bit of rain about every day, and then it turns hot and it's steamy, and I'm sitting in the air conditioner enjoying life, man.
Oh, there's LG Bass. He's been a member for 24 months. Thank you very much, LG, Tom, for your support. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been crazy. We got a lot of rain here Saturday night. So much so that it shortened out the rear view camera of Sheila's car. I went out there and took a blow dryer to it, and that took care of it. Thank goodness.
Oh, good, yeah.
Who knows what that costs? And my wife, she ain't gonna drive without it. She's not going to drive without that rear view camera, and I kind of am glad she has it. Hey, there's a couple of people just popped in there. They're crew members. Wayne Hoska, how you doing, Wayne? What's going on? He is a crew member. There's Don R. He's a crew member as well. Thank you for your support, guys. I'm always trying to make sure that I don't miss any of the channel members, the supporters, most definitely. So you guys were talking about the heat, huh? You told me it was hot down there by you today.
Dude, it's miserable, huh? We got like 4 days, and this week it's going to be over 100 or 100 or over. Tomorrow 95, I think, and then 100 plus the rest of the week.
Well, it's all relative what you're used to. I don't care what anybody says.
I'm not used to that.
Well, it's going to be in like 90, 95 out here. And Betty Jean, who's coming to visit here at the end of the month, or end of the week, I'm sorry. It is the end of the week, end of the month, same thing.
Yeah.
We're saying she's going to melt if she comes up here, and I'm kind of with her. So.
Yeah, there you go.
There's Hogleg. He's in the house. What's going on? How you doing, bud?
Good to see Steve.
So you guys were talking about the fishing starting to heat up. I kind of
Oh,
like it after Memorial Day. That's when the pleasure boaters go away.
but a high percentage of them, especially on Lake Ozark and places like that.
I've seen videos of that body of water, and that's just ridiculous. What is that on the east end or north end?
It's on the big end of the lake, which would be the east end. Yeah, that's the big end of the lake where Bagnell Dam is at. But it's ridiculous this time of year up there. And like you said, Memorial Day weekend, um, that shuts down a high percentage of it. Doesn't shut down all of it, but it gets a lot of them. And kids start back to school, all that stuff. So
Yeah, and parents take their boats off the water. That's the part that I'm happy about. So it's
you know,
been insane out here. I was out here fishing. When was it? Last Thursday, I think it was, or whatever. And I've never seen so many jet skis before in my life. It was crazy. Made my life miserable. Actually, I wasn't out fishing. I was out pleasure boating, Lyle. I told you about that.
you did, and I was so happy that Sheila got in the boat with you, and you guys went out. How did she like the boat? She liked the
She,
new boat.
you know what? Oh boy, here we go. I hope she can't hear me here. I don't
Oh,
think she
come
knows.
on, it'd be all right.
She liked it so much that she's starting to plan pleasure boating trips. I don't know
Well,
how.
there you go. You
I
know
don't know how.
what? That's a start to getting her to fish.
Well, I've been honored to get in that couples tournament
I think she should do that.
for the last 2 years. She says, I don't want to bait hooks. I don't want to do it. I said, you don't have to.
Yeah, you do that. You do it all. Anything to get her to interested in the sport. Yeah,
I I I think we can make it happen. If I can
I
drag
hope
some
so.
baits, and I don't think it really matters the size of the fish that I can put her on. As long as she's turning that reel, I think she'll be all
If
right.
she catch two or three one right after the other, she would be excited. Last year, Mark, or year before last, when James and Katie fished with us in Mendota. James and I got in the front of the boat, and we put Cindy and Katie in the back of the boat. And Katie fishes a lot. She fishes with James a lot. But then big channel cat up there, and she was on fire. She just reeled them in one after the other. I never seen anybody so happy in my life as she was. She had a great time, and James and I got to shoot the bull up in the front of the boat, and we done it all. We didn't let them bait hooks. We didn't let them take stuff off or nothing. Just stay interested in the sport. It just makes it so much easier for us to get to go if you guys like it.
Well, I wasn't out there with you guys, but all I remember is when you guys got back to the ramp, they both had big smiles on their faces.
Oh yeah, James caught the biggest channel cat he ever caught in his life.
I'm not
And
talking about James. Who cares about him? I'm talking
oh,
about
the women.
Cindy and
Cindy,
Katie.
Cindy didn't catch but one that day, I think, and Katie caught all the rest of them. But she had a great time, and it was so fun to watch her do it. I mean, because you hear the stories about that place, and unless you actually get to live it, you don't realize how great it really is. And she got to realize it.
You just got to figure out how to get them out there, and hopefully they'll find that passion for it like you do, and that makes you. Well, actually, I can't complain. I have no problems ever wanting to go fishing. I'll tell her I want to go fishing, and she's like, "Go." Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows what's going on around here when I'm out fishing? And to tell you the truth, that's fine with me as long as I'm out fishing. As terrible as that sounds.
For sure, man.
Just trying to catch up with Chad here a little bit. Let's see what Creole says. Mark, if you would give us her number, we could call her and offer her encouragement on your
It's
behalf.
a trap. It's a trap.
No, not happening. Not going to happen.
Oh, I don't even have her number.
Jerry wants to get timed out again. I think he says, Mark, we will have one of those little white sailor hats. I'll have one of those little white sailor hats smoking his cigar full-time pleasure boater. I don't know about all that.
I could wear the white hat if I could have a good cigar.
You know how much grief I got for even mentioning that I was going to go out and spend the day on the water swimming with my wife and a couple of friends? You'd think they'd be happy for me, but no.
I was.
I know you were. I know you were real happy for me.
You bet, man. That's awesome. I can't imagine that because Cindy's always ready to go fishing. She loves to fish.
She'll wring your neck if you hook up to that boat, take off without her, I'm pretty sure.
She has to be pretty sick for me to get to go anymore without her. Now, back when the kids started fishing, hot and heavy, and then my boys fished tournaments with me for a little while before they fell in love or lust or whatever the case was. That's about the time when Cindy picked it up. When the kids got to where they didn't want to do it anymore, and Marky and I done really well in some tournaments, and he fell in love. As simple as that. And Cindy stepped in, and I fished a tournament or two with some other guys, and we done okay. But when she started fishing with me, she liked it, and it got to the point where I knew what to expect out of her. She knew what to expect out of me. We planned our trips, and we worked hand in hand. And to tell you the truth, we don't guess what the other one's going to do because we already know. And that's what makes a good partner in tournament fishing.
Well, and it's not just that, it's all encompassing. I was actually thinking about that today, and how much of my day, every day, is spent on thinking about fishing, getting ready for fishing, watching fishing media. And I think that a lot of the people that are listening to the podcast and also here live in the chat, that they're the same way. And there's so many people out there, and if you can get that person that you're living with, that you're spending all your time on board with that, then you're ahead of the game. So,
and you know what? Two people in a boat can fix the world's problems. Maybe nobody will listen to you, but you're convinced when you're done that you've done found the answers.
This don't hurt either.
That's true.
Don't hurt. Hey, Tim Molina, he's also a channel. He's a crew member. Thank you very much for your support, Tim. Tim's the man. Let's see what Betty says. Betty says, tomorrow's my 12-hour shift. I'm melting now. See you day after tomorrow, Mark. Good night, Betty. Have a good one. I went out looking for bait today, Lyle. What a struggle. Josh put my picture on the bragging board.
That was a cute little feller.
I can't believe I've never caught one that small. That's why I called that my PB. I thought,
how big a hook did you catch that on?
That was just on a 16th ounce jig head I was using.
Oh, okay.
So I was using quarter ounce ones a couple weeks ago when I was out, and I was missing a lot of fish. Now I know why. It was those little tiny ones that I was missing.
Man, that was a little bitty feller, but
and I don't keep them that size. They don't do anything for me, They you put an 8/0 hook through that, and it's you don't even need a weight. It'd weigh that little sucker down.
I'm sure.
I don't know about that. Here's some more people coming in there. Justin's Fishing Fetish. He's a crew member. Says, howdy, y'all. Driving and listening. Say hello to Gabby for us, as always. There's Dan Thompson. Dan Thompson, how you doing, bud? He's also a crew member. I appreciate you. So, yeah, I mean, it's getting hot. I can't believe that July's almost over, Lyle. For me, that the fishing season's a little shorter for me than a lot of the people here watching and listening. So,
well, you're way north.
Yeah, not that far, but, I'm not up at Luke Henge's land, but
he's adopted, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm telling you, if we have him on the show, I get to make the thumbnail this time.
Okay.
I got some ideas, definitely. Mark says, I need an aquarium to put a couple of those in there. I wouldn't, if I had an aquarium, I would put a little baby flathead in there, but I know people that have done that, and they were kind of sorry they did after a while. They get pretty aggressive, and they grow pretty fast. So
they do. My brother-in-law used to have channel cat that he got. They have a hatchery at the Lake Ozark. And Tom, I'd go out there and 12-pack of beer, and he'd get a sack full of goldfish, and he had 4 or 5 of them in that aquarium. It's a 60-gallon aquarium. And, man, there's nothing more entertaining than watch them scoff up the goldfish.
Well, you know what I like to do when I got a tank full of bait fish? I'll bring some crappie minnows home, or I'll just go out and buy them, and dump a couple of dozen in there, and just listen to them fish at the side of that bait tank. I don't know what it is. That really makes me smile when I hear that.
I love it, man. It's hilarious.
Hold on, let's stop the show here, Lyle, because Pontoon Jody feels left out. So I want to give a special shout out to Chef Jody.
Chef Jody. Okay.
Chad's secret admirer. Well, it's not really that big a secret, though.
No, not anymore. No.
So
Sean says Chad's pouting somewhere.
I know where they're at. They're over there. They're having their little meeting. Whatever. We won't talk about that. So, Lyle, I looked up some news stories here real quick. Not really news stories, but topics that are in the news that we can maybe talk about. You down for that?
You bet.
All right. Let's share this first one here. I'm going through the internet looking for fishing stories. And here's a story in Conway, Arkansas. They're actually stocking more catchable sized catfish to be stocked in Conway area fishing holes.
That's
now,
awesome.
I'm all for stocking programs, but they don't stock catfish around here, at least other than like the initial stocking, and then they just let them go. Right. How about by you?
I don't know of any place around here that stocked any catfish for years and years and years. I don't remember any in my lifetime, but I know that there was some done previous to my ability to remember. But I think that's a great thing. And that's in Conway, Arkansas, right?
Conway, Arkansas, correct.
Yeah, that's really. I'm happy to see that because evidently people want to catch them, and they're telling the DNR or the Department of Natural Resources, whoever it is, that they want to harvest these fish. Well, let's face it, the catfish are great table fare, and if they're putting in channel cat, they're great and they grow fast.
They grow fast and they're pretty prolific breeders and such. So it's good to see that happen. And now when we're talking about like stocking programs, we're not talking about pay lakes and trophy sized catfish. No. We're talking about farm raised, pellet fed catfish that you can pretty much pull over at one of these places and either fish them or buy them over the counter. I know a couple of places that are farm raised catfish places where you can actually go in there and actually buy a couple if you don't feel like fishing for them. So that's a totally different animal. I'm all for breeding or stocking programs. Obviously, here in Illinois, we have the trout stocking program. That's kind of a different animal. But it's still pretty nice. It gets a lot of people involved in fishing. It sells a lot of licenses, which helps fund the sport. Definitely, most people would agree that the DNR and the state programs, a lot that money is one of the few programs that actually goes to the sport or to what it's meant for.
I don't have a problem with that. In fact, Brian, you're a funny man. Funny man, Brian. Funny. I never had a problem with buying fishing license. There's a small percentage of sales tax, and it's really small. It's like 1/8% that goes into the conservation department in certain cities, not all of them. And I don't have a problem with that because I see the benefit from what that money goes for. Some of the other stuff that our tax money spent on, I see no benefit. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
But with the conservation department, I enjoy what they do. Just like the place Cindy and I fished in the online tournament the other day. That was a beautiful area to fish. And there's plenty of fish in there. They just didn't work out for us. The people walk around that lake all the time. It's just an outstanding. That's where your tax money should go. Come on.
I agree with you 100%. Jerry brings up a point here. He says, pellet fish taste like poop. Now, let me finish what I'm going to say here. I got a couple things to say about that.
Yeah.
I'm a believer that if they're in the water long enough, they're going to lose that pellet taste.
Yeah, it don't take long either.
It don't take long. And second off, I want to know how Jerry knows what poop tastes like.
Yeah, I've kind of like to that myself. But, my cousin Gene used to raise fish in the pond. It was a big pond. I mean, it was a lake, really, probably 6-8 acres. And they would start them out in cages. Then they get so big, they would harvest what they want to eat, and then they would turn the rest of them loose in the lake and let them grow up. And then we're talking a very small percentage of them got released because there was 3 or 4 of them involved in doing this procedure. But they'd let probably 50 out a year into that lake, and there was some 20-pound channel cat in that lake, which is kind of unheard of anymore. But they did feed them. They fed them pellets, but they also could forage on regular fish and stuff, bluegills and hybrids and different things that was in that lake. So I never seen where they tasted bad.
Yeah.
In the south part of the United States, farm raised catfish is a big deal. They raise them just like they do hogs or beef or anything else.
And I'd rather buy a farm raised catfish from a local place like that I know what's going on than somebody that ships something over from China, to be honest.
I agree 100%.
So
Support
there we go.
the local people.
Rod Knockers Fishing, how you doing? It says Arkansas has a community municipal program that routinely stocks catfish in city parks and trout during the winter months, encourages catch and keep. Very cool.
Very cool.
Very cool. So yeah, I'm kind of all for those programs. We have that small little local lake that I fish on the weekends quite a bit.
Buck Williams's comment, you got to address it.
We have that little local place that actually raises money privately through fishing derbies and such to do the restocking, which is pretty cool. So anyways, let's see. Buck Williams says, I think there should be an alligator stocking program in the Rio Grande, but that's another show.
I will pay extra tax money to see that.
Wow.
Just to see it stocked, not, you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you
mean. I would like to see a little more of the tax dollars that's taken in go to kid programs to get our youth more involved in outdoor. We have a great facility in Southwest Missouri. It's a little town called Bodark, and the Conservation Department owns a huge chunk of land out there that was left of them. And they have 3 or 4 trap range set up. They have 25 or 30 100-yard rifle range or pistol range set up out there. They have sporting clays. They have archery. They have places you can take your hunting test. Everything they do all types of stuff for everybody. And when I see things like that, it's like the stuff that James and Katie Dockery does for kids. They get nothing out of that, but they teach so many people so many things that they might never get to see any other way.
Well, it might give, it keeps kids not only out of trouble, it shows them that there's more to life than what they knew before they had those skills.
That's right. Exactly. That's exactly right.
And Denny Ranson, he's a good dude. He was saying that, if they got their hands on a fishing pole, they don't have their hands on a telephone. So
that's right.
Or on a cell phone. So it's a good thing. Let me ask you what you think about this. Frank over at Twisted Fishing TV says, I'm super picky about the water I eat fish from. I live right between Toledo and Chicago, so the clean water history in our rivers isn't good. It's far better than 30 years ago. That is definitely true, Frank.
So they're making progress. I'm glad to hear that, because there was some stories years ago of things coming out of that area and things being dumped in the waters over where Frank's at that I understand his concern with eating them out of there. Mm-hmm. But if you study some of that stuff, now some of the chemicals and things is different, but in just nature will clean the water as it goes over rocks and sand, different thing. And I forgot the numbers. There's so many feet it takes for it to cleanse itself. But that's for natural stuff. It doesn't have anything to do with chemicals and things being dumped in by these factories and plants and stuff. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that it's better than it was, and maybe it'll get back to where you're not afraid to eat fish out of any of the water you fish in, Frank.
The way I look at it here, Lyle, is I'm an ex-smoker, right? So I smoked for a bunch of years. I eat barbecue. I like whiskey. Having fish once a month out of some river ain't going to kill me. Not before those things do.
I would probably eat fish 2 nights, 3 nights a week if I could get everybody else to go for it, but I can't, so I'm not going to do that. But I smoked for 45 years and hard a lot every day, and I haven't had it. October would be 5 years, so that's a major deal for somebody that smokes 2, 3, 4 packs a day. And now, granted, when I was working, some of them would burn up because and sometimes I'd have 2 or 3 going at once, you know. But I was busy and we was training people and I was trying to run a garage and work on all the stuff that the other guys couldn't work on and things like that. But yeah, do I miss them? Oh yeah, but I like the money better.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. That's how come I got that shiny new boat.
Yeah, that's right. You know, they make the payment. You know, what are they over where you're at?
I don't know. It's been a little, well, like they're at least $10 a pack, but you know.
You see, there ain't no way I'd ever go back to doing them for $10 a pack. No way. I think I seen the other day $7.50 here a pack. Yeah, I do that all the time. Grab for one.
I was reaching for that pocket. You know, my wife told me that the other day. She's like, you know, you don't need to buy pocket T-shirts anymore. I'm like, hello, I still need to carry these around. So
yeah, that's right.
All right, so the next story, I was going through and I saw, of all things, in a website called Digital Journal, the ultimate guide to choosing the choosing the catfish reel. That's kind of weird. A catfish reel, I should say. It goes through and it says a little bit about, you know, understanding reels, bait casting versus spinning. And key features is kind of what I wanted to talk to you a little about. Well, I'll talk to you real quick about how important is durability and construction to you, Lyle?
Very much so. That's why most everything I have is Abu Garcia.
I would agree with this 100%, with that being the number one importance to me is durability and construction. I'm a true believer that the rod has more to do with fishability and performance than the reel does, that the reel just needs to be there and it needs to be dependable. What do you think?
That's exactly right. If a reel has a smooth drag, and most of the new ones do, and you don't overload it, and by overloading it, if you let the action of the rod and the drag on the reel do their jobs, you will not ever break anything.
Yep.
The problem is most people say, well, I don't have enough drag, and they crank it down. So these guys are advertising 30-pound drag on reels. That's absolutely ludicrous. There's no reason to ever have that much drag on reels.
At least not in freshwater, there isn't.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about freshwater now. Yeah. I don't see where you have a whole lot of on saltwater, because if you ever tried to hold 30-pound of drag for any period of time,
yeah,
it's pretty tough.
If you're not in a chair or you don't have at least one of those butt protectors on the end, full on 30 pounds of drag right over the side of a boat's going to be a handful.
You can do it, but you can only do it for so long. I mean, let's face it, we're not in the shape we was when we was 18, 20 years old.
I don't know about you. I'm an Adonis. I don't care what anybody says.
Okay.
All right. Next point here. All right. Now, gear ratio. How important is gear ratio to you, Lyle?
Probably a little bit. It's not a whole lot. I don't like a really slow reel. But when you're cranking up a big fish, you need a gear ratio that's going to give you the pull it takes to get it.
You're going to need that. You're going to need it to act like the winch you need it to act like.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I know a lot of people complain that it takes forever to reel their baits in or whatever, but if there isn't a fish on the end of it, don't complain. If there's a fish on it and you got too high of a geared reel, you're gonna complain, you know. And back to that durability and construction part, you touch base on 30 pounds of drag. If you have drag that works good, is smooth, and you don't have to worry about it, that has probably almost most to do with it. So
I agree. Yes, sir.
Let's see what else they say. Line capacity. Oh, and then they say line capacity and drag system. Well, we touch base about drag. Line capacity, I guess it depends on your waters, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How deep, how far you got to get baits out. Are you fishing with, like Danny Stone with those 25-foot poles that you got to cast them out 685 yards? Stuff like that. That would... and then the last one they put on here is the ball bearings. That doesn't matter so much to me for a catfish reel, to be honest with you.
Well, the only thing about ball bearings versus bushing type reels, and I didn't even know they made bushing type reels anymore, they last a lot longer. Yeah, it just runs into durability. So
I did notice that today out bait fish. Well, we'll talk afterwards. I don't want to badmouth any reels because it's a good reel that I was using today, but it's not that Stratic. 100% I could tell the difference. But then you get what you paid for. It's probably half the money. And anyways, we're going off on a tangent here again. We never do that. So
really,
yeah, no kidding. The anti-reverse cog on a I've replaced a lot of them on the older Abus. It's nice to have a reel that doesn't turn backwards when you don't want it to.
That's right.
So I guess that's kind of important, but it being fourth on the list would definitely be one. So.
Yeah.
All right, now this next story I found on here kind of caught my eye. This is from Fox News in Carolina. It says teen catches extremely rare catfish in upstate lake. All right, the reason I wanted to talk about this a little bit is there it is. It's an albino catfish. It's not a pieball. It's like a pure albino. I have not seen one yet. What are your feelings on guys who chase those? Everything from the guys who do the micro fishing, they want to get like as many species as they can, to the people that actually go out and target, let's say, whether it's a tiger trout or an albino catfish, stuff like that. Do you have any interest in doing anything like that?
No. If I get one, I get one. If I don't, it was never meant to be.
I think it's kind of cool to come across them. Like,
absolutely. I think they're beautiful.
They're pretty cool. And from what Danny told me when he was on the show, they get at least the pieballs, they get sunburn real easy. So if you do catch one of those albino cats, either keep them, which I don't think you will, or get them back in the water. The sooner the better, though. So
yep.
I've always wanted to catch a palomino trout, which is the golden trouts that they stock with. I've seen them, but I've never been able to hook in them. That was pretty much the only fish outside of, let's say, a pound and weight class of a fish. I set goals at the beginning of the year, but I think that would be kind of a cool one to chase down. Reason I bring this up is, some of us, let's say Art from One Tons, he's got 100-pound fish, right? It's doable to break that record, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take a long time if it happens whatsoever. If you're looking to switch it up and give yourself some goals, that's always an option, wouldn't you think?
That's for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So that goes that. Let me see what my next story is. All right. Now, this is about our buddy, Micah Burkhart. We all know he broke the record for the second time at Tennessee State for a blue cat, right? 122 pounds, I believe, right?
Yep.
There he is. He's a good dude. I had him on the show. I got to meet him at CatCon. Great guy, real nice guy. Just actually got 2 rods to help support him for being such a nice guy. Mad Cats program is kind of cool as far as compensating record holders that use their equipment. So I'm all for that. I can get behind that. So I definitely did that. Right here, the first line says, I was shaken. I was nervous. Very few people get to catch a record fish, much less break a state record twice. And if you go over to his channel, you'll see him do it for the second time. He's got a good video about all that there. And you'll definitely see that statement right there is true, because you can tell. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up, not just because it's a state record, it's catching the same fish multiple times, Lyle. How often do you think it happens? I know it happens.
Happens a lot. I really believe that, and here's why. Not only have I done it, but other people have caught fish and showed pictures where there was a hook and a line in their mouth where they was way down in them. They didn't want to take a chance. And it hadn't rusted out yet. Dieter Melhorn, there's several guys out there that's caught the same fish. They've got pictures of it. It's got the marking on the back of it. It's been caught 3 or 4 times. It happens a lot. I think it happens a lot more than people realize. And I think the bigger they are, the more likely you are to catch a fish that's been hooked, because it eats more and it's going to get hooked more.
Yep, definitely. Couple of things here. I've caught the same flathead twice within 30 minutes.
I don't doubt that.
And the second time we got the fish on and we're like, oh, it's a clone, it's pretty close. We waited. It was practically the exact same weight. And then we're kind of like, wait a minute, is this the same fish? We look at it and it had hook holes on the other side. We compared pictures.
Yeah.
30 minutes, Lyle. We got that fish. Those things, when they want to eat, they're ready to eat.
I remember people saying, "Oh, you're tournament fishing. You shouldn't be sore lipping them fish." Really? My son and I was fishing one day, and we had caught a bunch of shad in a cast net, and we put these shad in the live well of the boat. Well, he caught a 26-pound blue. To my knowledge, is still the biggest fish that he'd ever caught. And we go to get bait out of the live well a little while later, and it had a lot of bait in it. And that fish had ate them all. And that tells me that just because they was hooked does not mean that they won't still eat. We had to go catch full bait.
I'm a firm believer in what you're saying. I've heard this though, and I don't know. Take it for what it's worth, folks. I've heard people say that bass are smart. I don't believe that one.
No, their brain's the size of your thumbnail.
Well, they say that once a bass gets caught on X lure, that they're not going to bite on that same lure. That malarkey. I don't think
that's crazy talk.
I don't think that's a thing whatsoever.
No, absolutely not.
And you even saying that they're going to keep eating. They'll puke their food up when you're reeling them in, and you put them back in the water, and they're going to go right back to eating. During the Panfish Nation tournament qualifier that I was in, I caught like 4 fish that looked like they had their lips ripped off already one time. They got to keep eating.
Danny Stone must have been setting the hook on them.
And I've done the same thing. I've done the same thing with those stocker trout that I mentioned earlier. I've lost them because I use like 2-pound fluorocarbon leader when I go stock trout fishing, or when I used to, just because that's the best way, or that works the best for the rig types that I use. And they'd break off, and an hour later, I'm catching that fish that's still got my hook in its jaw, and I know it was my hook because I use these little tiny Gamakatsu extra wide gap red hooks, and I didn't see anybody else out there with them, and it had my dental floss leader on it still. So
yeah, absolutely, I believe that, and I like I say, I know for a fact that they still eat just because they hooked. I'm a big proponent. If you have a big live well in your boat, and most people that catfish, if they ever tournament fish, they have some kind of live well. Put that fish in a live well and let him revive himself. Even if you have to put oxygen on, whatever it takes, before you release them, let them kind of get back to themselves. We do that a lot, and if when we do that and they eat up all the bait you have in there, that he ain't done feeding that day. So if somebody else comes along later, they probably catch him again. It's just the way it is. They're going to eat until they're done eating, and they may not eat the rest of the day, maybe not tomorrow, but probably that second day they're going to have to eat again.
They'll eat sooner than that.
I think you're right. Depends on conditions, but when they put the feed bag on, it's all about getting loaded. It just is.
Mark Barnum says, buddy and I were fishing the Green River. He had the fish ready to net, and it broke him off. He hooked it again. He got his fly back and 5 other flies.
Oh, wow.
Them trout for little fish, they're pretty predatory as far as bugs, insects, even some smaller frogs and stuff. They're pretty aggressive fish.
I think I've told you I live about 30 minutes from Bennett Springs, which is one of the largest trout fisheries in the state of Missouri. Come on. Got my wiener. And
excuse me?
Yeah.
For those of you listening to the podcast, Lyle was talking about his dachshund.
We could go over there and catch those fish. And that's a stalker program, but they also can jump into Bennett Springs is like a 1 million gallon a day natural spring. It's cold, and it dumps into the Niagara River, and you can go down below the park and you can catch those. Once they're in the natural water, they no longer become stalkers. They become fish to catch.
Well, they gotta eat something, and they're gonna eat whatever's available, which means bait fish, a lot of bugs.
Yep, a lot of bugs. Try to eat a lot of bugs.
a lot of bugs, whether they're on the surface or on the bottom. They usually get it figured out 100%.
Yeah, but they don't get big from being completely ignorant, and it doesn't, even though their brain's the size of your thumbnail, it's proportionate to the rest of their body, so they're not ignorant by no means, and they'll figure things out.
Mark Barn, I just needed to highlight this. It was a 22-inch rainbow. That's a nice size rainbow right there.
It really is. We used to fish that so much, my brother-in-law and I, that we would just walk up and down the area that was fished, and then big sows that they released, they just lay over next to the rocks, and we just sit there. And the only way we ever figured out to catch them was just float a fly down through there. You float it down there long enough, you'll get it in their mouth, and when they close it, you got them. And that's all we do. We was just head hunting, is all we's doing. And we do that, and people get mad at us because they couldn't do it. And you might mess with a fish for 3 or 4 hours before you hit that spot, but eventually you'll get it, and that's what we done.
Buck Williams says holdover trout meat turns pink and they taste better. I would agree. I wouldn't know about the taste, Buck, but they do turn pink.
They do. I'm not a trout
I'm
fan.
just not a big fan of trout unless it's smoked. But yeah,
I can eat them, but I choose not to.
Yeah, I'll smoke them up with the teriyaki recipe that I have, homemade teriyaki marinating it. It's pretty good. Like I've said time and time again, I make a good cream cheese dip with smoked trout and capers, which is phenomenal, like on a bagel or even on crackers.
Here we are off on food again, but
food is life.
Well, we're off on that tangent. I've talked about doing a show sometime about cooking and stuff, and we need to make that happen one of these days.
I think we're going to have to make this. Lyle, I'm making a 10-pound pork butt here tomorrow.
I think I'm doing a double one here before long.
Right on. I can't wait.
We're talking about Cindy and I was talking about that today. I said I'll smoke a pork butt. I got a double out there when Chad and Dee show up, and pork butt it'll be.
There we go. Pork butts are cousins of bacon, right?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, and I love bacon.
So, another thing that comes to mind about Micah and his record, granted he was great for putting that fish back the first time.
Yeah.
What if it wasn't him that caught it? That would be something that a lot of people are quick to say, if I caught, let's say, a state record, or let's not even get into a world record fish. Let's stay with a state record fish. I mean, it's easy to say from where we're sitting at, if we caught one, we'd put it back. But when there's thousands and thousands of dollars, and there is with these fish involved, it would be definitely something that would cause you to think, and hopefully you'd come to your senses and release that fish for sure.
Let's step back just a little bit.
Okay.
And tell me where all these thousands and thousands of dollars are coming from.
All right. I hear rumors that Bass Pro Shop leases these fish.
That's not true.
I don't know.
I can prove it.
Okay, we'll talk after the show.
Well, I'll just tell you now.
That's an example that came to be. Let's say the Mad Cat's rod percentage that you get for something like that.
Well, now that's a different situation, because them folks buy an insurance policy saying that you don't think they'll ever catch that fish.
Uh-huh.
And then you do, and the insurance company has to pay off.
That's how Lloyd's of London, definitely does that.
Right. But now, the Bass Pro Shop thing, they don't pay any money for fish.
No, okay.
And the reason I know that is because I weighed that one in Memphis 2 or 3 years ago and was involved in that whole situation. And they didn't pay that guy anything to catch that over 100-pound fish. And we weighed the first time, it was 118 pounds. It filled the live well on that Sea Ark boat.
That's a big fish.
It was a giant. Now, by the time they screwed around, 4 or 5 hours later, before they got over there, the fish had puked and crapped and done all the stuff that they do and didn't eat anymore. And when they weighed it on their scales, and we weighed it on certified scales that had just been certified, so we know they was accurate. It didn't weigh quite that much, but it's against the law to buy that fish, and they can't do it now.
I didn't say buy, I said lease.
Well, they can't do that either. No money can exchange hands. No money can exchange hand, and none of them guys want to go into battle in court with the DNR or conservation departments or anything like that. So that one and all of them that I know about has never got any lease money, anything like that.
Okay, what about we'll agree on the Bass Pro Shops. I'd imagine that you're correct on that, most definitely. What about indirect funding? Let's say whether you got a YouTube channel or you got a guide service.
That's a whole different deal there.
Okay, that's what I mean. That's another thing. And you know, as soon as somebody does better than the person before them, that person before them is usually forgotten.
He's history.
He's history.
He's gone.
You know, you can't use that to promote your guide service. You know, when the next guy does this. I mean, I had Chad beat it in Mendota for a year. That was great. And then he beat me last year, ruined my life. Man, I went a long way for that joke, didn't I? I did. It went a long way.
Danny Stone says he had a guy said a Bass Pro would give him $3,000 for that pieball. He checked and it was bull. Yeah, it is bull. They won't pay. They can't. It's a guess. Why would they do anything that's going to get them in trouble? Come on, they're about tourist money. They're about getting people to that store and buying us. They're not going to do anything that's going to get them in trouble. It just ain't going to happen.
Steve Ransom says, yeah, how many boats are set up to care for a straight record fish long enough to keep it alive? You'd be surprised how long a catfish can stay alive as long as it's not really stressed.
Most tournament boats are. Tournament boats are ready to go. The other thing is, I know guys that have caught them so big their live well wouldn't hold them. They poked a hole in the bottom lip and run a rope through there to get them in, get them weighed, get them checked, and then released very lively. They put them in tanks. The one that was caught out there in North Carolina, they got a guy bring his boat down there because his live well was set up for giant fish until they weighed that fish. A couple of years ago, I remember the story about that. And the guy that brought his boat in, I'd had on Catfish Weekly as a guest. He builds custom live wells and stuff. He had his boat, just went and got it. They dropped the fish in there, kept it in there overnight. And when they released it, it was in as good or better health than it was before. So you'd be surprised how many people have both. Big tournament guys that fish a lot of tournaments, they have to have a boat that will keep 3 large fish in. And a lot of tournaments now have went to something that we set up when I run Twisted Catch years ago, where 2 overs and 1 under. That's a great way to run tournaments, but still, you get 2 overs. You could possibly. Jerry Parker caught 280s in one day, Mark.
Yeah, if you're talking blue cats.
If you're in a tournament, there's very few live wells that'll hold 280s. You know, I can get them in there, but will they survive?
That's a lot of fish to keep floating in a boat. You know what I mean?
I'm a big proponent of, if you have a giant in your boat, go weigh it in and release it, and then go back and fish. That way, you know the fish is going to survive. I'm not eating any big fish. I don't do that. I would rather let that fish go and let it reproduce and pass them genes along.
Hey, Wayne Hoska with the super chat. What's going on, Wayne? How you doing?
That's awesome. Thank you, sir.
Hold on a second here. I got to fix something. I don't know what happened there. I did something on accident. Sorry about that, Eric. I hit too many dots there. I'll have to fix that after the show. Let's see what we got here. There, Wayne Hosk with the $2 super chat. How you doing, Wayne? Thank you very much. I mean, I even have a stringer that's built for trophy size catfish. It's got the oversized clasps on there. It's got the heavy duty 880 paracord on there, and that's always for that just in case moment. I keep that in.
Never know.
Steve Ransom says, if I catch a state record, it will be stressed for sure. I will be jumping up and down so much he would have shaken fish syndrome.
I know for a fact the guy caught 106 several years ago, and that's how they got it to the ramp. Very slowly, very methodically, with a stringer run through its bottom lip, and they'll heal up. I mean, they just didn't want to kill the fish, and they was in a tournament. That same guy also, as far as I know, still holds the record for 3 fish limit of 230 some pounds on 3 fish. So that's a hell of a weigh in.
That's a heck of a weigh in. Oh, thanks again, Wayne. He says I hit the wrong button. I meant this one. Good, bud. I appreciate you.
Double dipping her.
Well, here we go from Micah's state record, and this crossed my eye right here. Gigantic 9.4 foot long catfish is the largest ever caught. I wish I could make that larger here, but that's a weird looking catfish, wouldn't you say, Lyle?
It is. It's very weird, and I have no way to substantiate if that is the biggest or not, but it's a stud. Either way you go.
It says largest Wells catfish ever caught by 1.6 inches, 4 centimeters. That's all he bit it.
Wow.
So that's crazy. I don't know if I'd be willing to travel around the world to catch one of them. A lot of people would. That guy obviously put that fish back. I don't think there's any need to keep that. I
see no reason to kill a fish like that. I really don't. But before I would go overseas to catch a Wells, I would go down South America and catch a red tail.
Well, that was my next question. I know you always talked about the red tail catfish. So
it is beautiful.
I agree. The thing about fishing down there is everything wants to kill you down there.
That's exactly right. That's why you take Chad with you, and he wants to go. So if something's trying to eat you, you shove him in the water and walk away.
I'll just break one of his kneecaps before we go down there. This way he's slower than me and be able to move faster.
He's going to kill us both.
I know. We're probably getting emojis as we speak.
I bet we are.
So yeah, that just kind of caught my eye. I like doing these shows. I like going through the internet and seeing all of these stories and stuff, and it's always fun to get your a take on some of these stories, because you know how the news is. It's all sensational.
It is. But you know what? I'm glad that the fishing industry is getting that kind of recognition, and people are actually taking incentive to put this stuff available for everybody to see, because that's what keeps the interest up. That's what brings new people into it. And like we was talking earlier, if we lose the kids' interest in our sports, like fishing or shooting, hunting, whatever, no matter what it is, if there's not young folks to come in and replace us as the older folks go away, then we'll lose those sports as we know them now forever.
I agree 100%. Take your kids fishing. I don't know what else to say. I got nieces that I took fishing and a nephew. And to this day, whenever we get together, whether it's Christmas or Thanksgiving or Easter, they always talk about, the time I've taken them fishing. And they plan on taking their kids fishing once they start having them, which is awesome. It's going to be pretty soon here, Lyle. I'm getting that old, bud.
Danny.
Let's see what Danny had to say here. Number one on my bucket list, if I win the lottery, take Lyle to the Amazon. We're going to die, but we are going.
Yeah, I hope you win her next week. Should have won it last week. It was a bunch then.
All right, Lyle. So this Wednesday, we're going to be on Panfish Nation together like we are every week. If you're listening to the podcast, I am a co-host on Lyle's show, Panfish Nation, here on YouTube. I think you also uploaded the podcast too, right, Lyle?
Yes, it was uploaded last week. But we've just changed it. We're just doing it a week later.
Okay, we're a day earlier and an hour earlier. We moved it to Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do a giveaway, folks. So if you're here in chat, make sure you tune in Wednesday night. There might be a couple of surprises on there as well. I think we're going to have a good show. Me and Lyle are going to talk a little bit before that. We'll get everything in place. So I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there. In order to get in on the drawing, you need to be a member of the Panfish Nation channel too. So you might want to consider that. Lyle hand makes some jigs. He's going to give away a whole box of them.
I have that box right here.
Let's take a look. Show it to us, bud.
I will stick it up here. It's my personal collection of stuff that I tied and used myself. Is that it?
That's it right there. Look at that.
We'll give that away. If we get enough participation in this, we could make this a monthly thing. But we have to get members to join. Enough thumbs up, people that have interest in what we're doing. That's what makes that work. And let's face it, I'm going to be tying them anyhow.
Spread the word, folks. Spread the word. For both Catfish and Crappie and Panfish Nation. I'm on both of those shows.
You know,
you can spread the word about Catfish Weekly. Just don't mention Chad, and everything will be good.
Oh man, you are in trouble.
Yeah, not the first time. Well, Lyle, I would thank you again for coming on. We're going to end it here. Thank everybody for watching. Thanks for the super chats, the kind words, and the thumbs up. We got a whole bunch of them. And whoever voted in the poll for the bad country, shame on you.
That's right. Shame on you.
Everybody,
thanks for having me.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate you being here, bud. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you all later this week on Panfish Nation, and who knows, maybe even after that. I look forward to doing a lot of fishing at the end of this week. So, everybody, God bless. Keep everybody that needs your prayers in your prayers, and talk to you next week. Bye.